Sean Payton, he has said himself in an interview with, coincidentally, Tom Brady, he's going to come back this year or next year, but sooner than later he will be coaching again. One of the practical realities is you've got to go where the openings are, and even though there are 6, 7, or 8 a year, it's got to line up just right. You've got to feel good about the money. Obviously, you've got to feel good about the power that you have or don't have, the opportunity. Can you put together a team that will win a Super Bowl? Coaches who have won a Super Bowl are very aware of the fact that no one has won a Super Bowl with two different teams. No one. Bill Parcells came close.
Right.
But no one has pulled it off. No one's pulled it off. Sean Payton, I think, would like to pull it off, as would any coach that's won a Super Bowl with one team. If he ever leaves, he'd like to be that one to do it. So, there are some openings this year. Currently 3, Panthers, Colts, Broncos. He's not going to the Panthers. I'd be surprised if he goes to the Colts, although it would seem like a place where maybe he could make something happen if Jim Irsay would let him do his thing. He'd have to find a good quarterback. Broncos, we kind of talked about it yesterday. I don't know. Chargers isn't going to open up now that they've made the playoffs. That was the spot where we all thought he would land. And, you know, Chris, the Cowboys is the one that is just kind of hanging out there. I think if they go one and done again this year, after all the expectations they built up through a great season, I think Mike McCarthy could be in trouble if Jerry Jones is willing to buy out his contract. That's one of the things Jones doesn't like to do. He doesn't like to buy out. Doesn't like to pay guys to not work. But if he's willing to buy out Mike McCarthy and pay Sean Payton, hey, I mentioned playmakers earlier. Let me mention it again. There's a whole chapter in there about this dynamic of coaches and trading for coaches. And Sean Payton, 4 years ago, was a day away from becoming not officially the coach of the Cowboys, but a day away of the process activating itself that would have resulted in Sean Payton becoming coach of the Cowboys. So to me, of any of the jobs out there, teams that he hasn't coached before, the Cowboys is the one that I would be keeping an eye on, and it depends upon what they do in that first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, it seems to be the most sensible, connection with Sean Payton. It's been a rumor for a long time, so I understand that. Mike McCarthy has done a good job. I guess I feel like the year they're having, man, I mean, I'd have a hard time thinking that Jerry would fire Mike McCarthy, even if it was one and done. But I don't know. Again, he's getting there to an age where maybe he's impatient and he wants better results right now, to kind of what you're saying. The Sean Payton rumor with the Saints, to me, it is shocking. Like you said in the tease going to the break, it's shocking, that rumor. I have a hard time kind of getting behind it.
I was trying to build to that. I was trying to build to that point. You just ripped the sheet right off of it. I wanted to exhaust all non-Saints options before we got to the Saints option.
Mike, I wasn't sure because I was sitting here like looking things up, and I wrote something in my notepad, and I was like, wait, did he actually say the Saints thing yet or not? And I kind of took it that you had, that's on me. My bad there, Mike. I'm sorry. Right. So go ahead. Do you want to lay it out there?
We have full transparency here. This is all happening in real time as we have this conversation. But let me just say this about the Cowboys before we pivot to the Saints. That's what the tease was about. There's a sense in league circles that he's going back to the Saints. Okay. If the Cowboys go one and done, and if at the end of the day there's a post-mortem like the one there was last year after they lost to the 49ers, where it's all about how they coached and practiced and prepared for that outside-the-box, Dak runs the quarterback draw, and the whole thing is premised on having enough time to spike the ball, and they forgot to allow for the reality that the umpire has to somehow
run to
transport through multiple bodies to get in position, that it was just a failure of coaching, a failure of practice. Remember we asked C.D. Lamb about it at the Super Bowl, how much you guys practices? Not very much. Or did you have an official out there? That's what it was.
Yeah.
Did you have an official out there who was playing that same role to fully simulate what you're trying to do? And when you talk about those kind of details, some coaches are obsessed with those details, like Sean Payton, and some coaches aren't. That could be the thing, Chris.
I hear you.
That would get Jerry Jones, I think, to seriously consider it. If we lose this again because of some coaching nuance that Mike McCarthy doesn't appreciate, doesn't understand, doesn't execute, and I know Sean Payton would, that could be the tipping point for Jerry Jones.
Yeah, well, and of course it's also been a part of Mike McCarthy's history a little bit of those answering or us questioning some game management issues or the way the team's coached or, like last year, they held on every play in the Thanksgiving Day game. They were mad at so many penalties called. You were like, I go watch the game and I go, no, there should have been 20 more penalties called. They held on every play, right? And those are coaching failures. And I think that's where, I don't disagree with your statement there. If it was a blunder like that again, then I would go, uh-oh, he might be in trouble tomorrow. If they lost the game and it was bad clock management or whatever, situational management at the end of the game, yeah, I hear you there. And of course, Sean Payton makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of pieces in place in Dallas right there to win right now and go. The Saints thing is shocking to me, from a lot of different angles because it's just, to me, the Saints they're a team that's going downhill, and I don't think it's going to turn around here anytime soon. This is going to be a tough fix. They are on the cusp of major rebuild. Their team has gotten old. We're seeing that. They don't have a quarterback. They have huge salary cap issues, like huge, to where they're going to have to let go a lot of guys on the team next year. They're not going to make it under the cap from everything I know and researched about it. So that's where I just would be shocked that Sean Payton goes back to the New Orleans Saints. I feel like he's going to want to pick a team that's a little more like Miami. That's why he wanted to go there last year. That's why Brady wanted to go there. They went, oh my gosh, this looks like it's an all-star team about to, be accumulated here. So that's where I envision it. Something where he's got a little more, wiggle room to play with money and players and all of that, Mike.
3 important points. Number one, when you said the Saints are going downhill, it reminded me of that classic interview between Larry King and Jerry Seinfeld where Larry King doesn't realize Seinfeld wasn't canceled. And King says, don't all shows go downhill? And Seinfeld says, some people do too. I digress.
That was good.
Second point. The Saints are in this salary cap supposed purgatory every freaking year. Every year. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And every year, Mickey Loomis does something. I don't know what the hell he does, but he does something to fix it and push it all to next year. And meanwhile, the cap keeps going up every year, so you have that wiggle room. You push dollars into a future year, and you make it work. Third, and this is the most important point, and this is why, because I hear stuff all the time that I don't mention, that I don't write. That it doesn't just, it's okay, fine, people are talking about it, but that shouldn't be the bar.
Yeah.
Just because general managers and coaches and other people connected to the owners, whoever, are talking about it, doesn't make it worthy in and of itself of mentioning. I think the reality is this: of all the jobs that could be available to Sean Payton this year, there is nowhere he can go and partner up like Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, Tom Brady, and Sean Payton. I think that's the motivating factor. I think these guys are determined at some point before their football epitaph is written to work together. And the only place they can work together, 2023, is New Orleans. That's why I believe that there is reason to pay attention to this. And you know what? Tom Brady and I, now he may have to rebuild his portfolio after the whole, FTX collapse. I don't know how over-leveraged he was or wasn't in that business. It's gone belly up, and nobody's even asked him about his equity standing in one of the biggest frauds of all time. But I digress again. He can take whatever he takes to play for. If he really wants to play for Payton, and Payton really wants to play with him, and they see value in being together, and they can try to make chicken salad out of whatever limitations the Saints roster may have, that's why I think there's something to it. Because it allows them to do what they weren't able to do earlier this year. And I think there's a certain amount of middle finger flashing that would go on by Payton and Brady toward whatever it was that got in their way in the league for slapping down the Dolphins for trying to do it. We're still going to, you can't stop us from doing this. You think you can stop us, but you can't. We're going to go to New Orleans and we're going to work together. And it may be a short-term stint for Payton and Brady in New Orleans, but that may be the only place where they can do it. That's why I feel like there may be something to this.
It's interesting. I mean, it's certainly worth thinking about. I don't. I guess I kind of feel like I got to see it to believe it type of thing there. One is it's just for the reasons I mentioned. I just have a hard time thinking Sean Payton's going to go back there. I do. And I understand they keep we're getting to the point, and I was told by people who were very much in the know last year that this is one of the reasons he got out of New Orleans, is that the chickens were coming home to roost on the salary cap issues. They weren't going to be able to wiggle around this anymore. Alvin Kamara's hurt a lot. It's coming to the end. Cameron Jordan, it's coming to the end. Offensive linemen that were good are getting older. They got some that are coming to the end there. Marshawn Lattimore is out of his prime. And he's still real good, but he's not a top 3 or 4 or 5 corner in football anymore. That's where I have a hard time thinking of that. And then Brady, I don't think that's the type of team he wants to go. I mean, Brady, again, he wants to go to the next all-star team that can just, make him look good.
I don't think so.
You think he's just going to play?
Chris,
I doubt it. I doubt it. I mean, he's playing like crap, Chris, and the support system's not good, and he's not going to go anywhere that's not good along with it.
I believe that this obsession with getting the next ring, I think now that he has entered for 40 days the abyss of being retired and come out on the other end and gotten back into football. I think, and this comes from his weekly Let's Go podcast, I either listen to it or I look at the clips that are sent out, the partial transcript by SiriusXM. I've come to the conclusion, and for me, the trigger was after they lost to the Browns, and he said, I'd rather play and lose than not play at all. He said other things since then that make me think he just is happy to still be playing. And he's happy to be competing, and even if he's losing, he's learning something about himself through that process of dealing with that adversity. I think he loves the sport so much that he would play it even if he's not in a situation where he feels like he's rigged it so that he's got that deck that's stacked in his favor. I've come to that conclusion, which it's, I want to work with Sean Payton. I want to see what it's like. I want to be the quarterback in Sean Payton's offense for a year. Yeah. I could see that overcoming. I have to get another ring, or I'm not going to play.
No, it goes against everything you've ever said about Tom Brady. Now you're saying he's just cool with playing. He looks miserable this year. He's telling people how horrible the year is. I mean, come on, Mike. He's not enjoying himself. He can say whatever he wants.
I think it's been horrible for other reasons.
Well, of course.
I think it's been horrible for other reasons. And I think that he probably doesn't want this to end up being his final year in football, given everything he's gone through personally this year. I'm just telling you, Chris, and again, he may be completely and totally full of shit when he says it.
Well, he's not.
I'm getting the vibe that he just wants to play, and he's not obsessed with getting another championship. He doesn't feel compelled to find a spot where he thinks it's all pointing in his favor for another championship. That's just the sense I've gotten in listening to what he says. And again, he said himself, 90% of the stuff he says publicly is crap.
Yeah, that's where you would take it.
Now you've got me wondering.
It's crap, Mike. Come on. He doesn't want to make it about him. He's telling people, he doesn't want to make it like this is his last hurrah. So he doesn't want to make it about him, which I respect. I think he loves playing. I don't doubt what you're saying. And I think he is the ultimate fighter, where he'd rather play than and lose than not play at all that way. But I don't think that means just go to a team and take a beating and just, try something out to continue to play. I don't know. I guess I do not feel the same way you do about that situation. I feel like it's all coming to an end, and I would be shocked if Brady's back next year. I really would.
I'm still not ready to say he won't be. And he said this week that he doesn't think about retirement. The next time he does, it'll be for good. He's not going to do this short-term retirement again.
He didn't retire last year, Mike. That's why we can't put water. It wasn't a retirement.
Chris,
He'd already put
he wanted to go to Miami.
Right, he already put the plans in motion. It was all BS and just a cover. It was nothing. It was not a retirement.
Rodney Harrison's comment from Sunday night also carried weight with me because Rodney knows the guy. Rodney interviewed the guy, and I don't know if Tom Brady said something to Rodney or if Rodney is just sharing his own opinion without any specific breadcrumb trail back to Brady, other than the fact that he's known him for years. And I would listen to Rodney more than I'd listen to most other people if Rodney has this belief that he's going to play next year, but not for the Buccaneers. Rodney believes that. And I know that he said all along he's going to play until he's 45, and he means it, and he's not going to play again, and, walk away before it all falls apart. But Steve Young said a few weeks ago when they played the Saints on Monday Night Football, guys retire because they can't do it anymore. They don't retire because they can do it and they just choose not to. They retire because they can't do it. And Brady can still do it. I'm out here watching him make these throws. He can still do it. Rodney said something about that similarly the other night. I'm out here watching him. He can still do it.
His arm's good.
So why would you stop if you can still do it?
Because look at the horrible plays he made the other night. I mean, he played like crap for 3.5 quarters. That's why. It was horrible. I mean, that's why. They're playing a horrible team with Trace McSorley. Yeah, his arm's still good. He can't move. He doesn't want to take a hit. He rushes decisions. It's just the fact of the nature. And do you think Tom Brady's not smart enough to know that if he throws something out to Rodney, that Rodney's not going to go into the mic and say it 5 minutes later? I mean, come on. So that's where I don't. I think he knows. I think he's trying to fan the flames of not making it all about him at the end here. That would be my 2 cents on it. But yeah, again, I know we can. That's where, again, Mike, I mean, I know he can still throw it. So he's got to go to an all-star team, though, because he can't do anything else. That's why he left Tampa. Why he left New England. It wasn't good enough. He knew he couldn't carry them. He needed somebody to help carry him, and then he could put the finishing touches on it. And he went to a place that had awesome receivers, and they got Gronk, and they had the best O-line in football and the best D-line in football. And then we all go, look, Brady's still great. And that's, to me, if he's going to play, he's going to go to that. I would just be shocked if he just goes to play because I'm Tom Brady and I like playing the game. That goes against everything we've known about the guy. The drive for the rings, to me, is not going to leave Tom Brady if he's going to play football.
Well, it gives us something fascinating to keep an eye on in the coming weeks. And if Sean Payton would go back to the Saints,
it'd be crazy.
And
I'd be
obviously
shocked.
What would have to happen is they'd have to fire Dennis Allen.
Yeah.
They'd have to have the Rooney Rule compliant interviews. It would just be a lot of stuff that happens, and then here comes Sean Payton riding back into New Orleans on a white horse to save the day. And then Tom Brady signs in March. I just given what we know, and we were ahead of the curve. We were ahead of the curve before there was even a curve on Tom Brady and Sean Payton going to Miami. I'm just telling you, the talk's out there about Payton going back to the Saints. And I don't think he's going back to the Saints to coach Andy Dalton or to finally activate Taysom Hill fully and completely as a quarterback. I think he'd be going back there because that's where Tom Brady would go, and they have that understanding, and they already have the agreement in place unofficially before the process starts to play out. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.